So what was going on? I was basically stuck. Things looked really dire. My life was basically on a straight lane that I just never felt like I could get out of. And I had just come home from work, turned on the TV, and it just hits me. And it was like either I do something about my life right now, or I just stay and let it be as it is and never go anywhere any further. For me, that was something that wasn't going to happen. I'll tell my other story later on, and you'll definitely get more examples of that. But throughout the process, I got to state, throughout the process, basically, not only did I come to terms with who I am, I came to terms with God, I guess. You know, things were difficult, a lot, like when I was out there doing the things that I was doing, sitting in the woods, getting bit by mosquitoes, a little hot. Why'd I do all that? Well, it was a test of my own character, but then also the inner strength that I have. And because of the situation that I was living through, I didn't value myself very highly at all. And just before I left, I did, yes, come to terms with my own myself as far as my traumas, and that while that was no longer holding me back, the fear that those traumas left was still holding me back. And that's why I say I come to terms with God, because I felt that after so long of being here, I took so much time in being careful in all the things that I did. I never considered what if I just let him take the wheel? And that's what I did. And it really changed me and made me feel much better about myself, but also gave me the clarity about the things that are going on around me, the things that I understand. Because the way that I see the world isn't like how most other people do. The best way to explain it would be you take a chart and then you put somebody's life out in a straight line. That's how their life works from their perspective. From my perspective, the way it works is, well, you got a chart and then you got all these destinations all over the map, and you can go to any one of them anytime you want. How do you explain that to other people? Being able to see possibilities in every little thing that takes place, every person you go around, you hang out with, every situation, all of that. And I see them all. Uh, Trying to explain that throughout my life to other people, that level of perception, had been very difficult. Uh, and it basically got me to the point where I started demeaning myself and putting up restrictions and limitations around those abilities. Because throughout my life, I felt that they were never perceived. Well, it was not necessarily just a feeling, the way I had been treated over my life. One example that had become evident was right after I got back from my 3 day trip. We're going to call it a trip, 3 day excursion. There we go, we'll call it that. Was one of my friends pointed out how she had looked into my profile previously, years back, and found that I had a repeated pattern stating situations that were taking place and asking for help, and no one ever commented or said anything. And if they did, it was more in a passive sense. But after the situation, when it started, when I went missing, everybody came out of the woodwork looking for me, and some even expected the worst of me. But nobody had taken time to try and understand me long enough to know that I wouldn't do anything stupid to myself, and that situations like that are actually more normal than you would think for me. So that definitely brought a realization to me as far as my life where I had been, what I had done. And that's not to blame anybody else for those things. It's just to point out for myself that this is what I built. These are the people I surrounded myself with. And the choices that I made, that I continue to make, was why I decided to just make a permanent change to myself and my life. I couldn't let those hindrances stay there. I'm not the type of person to hold back when it comes to things of myself, my soul. I believe that anything you choose to do is what you choose to do. And there shouldn't be any reason you shouldn't be able to feel good about who you are, how you think, how you see things, how you understand things. Even if a person sees them differently, I don't understand why it needs to be neglected or demeaned. It could be a huge benefit to so many people. But the way our society goes is it trains us to do exactly that, to push a person who has potential down. Not to say that I exactly had it. For me, it wasn't necessarily potential. For me, it was a lifestyle. Just, I want to live my life. I want to go on like everybody else does. Not in the best possible way, not in the worst possible way, but just, go through life and enjoy myself and see the bigger things and enjoy the bigger things like others do. And if anybody else wanted to join me along the way, so be it. But it was always constantly denied just because of lack of understanding. Sometimes on my part, mostly on others. As you hear my story about my life and the things that have taken place, you'll hear repeated patterns of these things. And I don't deny that I put myself in some of these situations repeatedly because I never tried to learn my own lesson. And that's the other part to take from it, the lessons. Throughout my life, I had many of those to learn. That was a perspective I just could not gain. May it have been from lack of, being taught this, or maybe in lack of just, sheer determination. I have to just push through. I can't see the bigger picture because the bigger picture would just get in the way or disappoint me. But the point of this right here is sort of a prelude to understand that the world doesn't have to be the way that it is, but also to open your eyes and others' eyes to what's going on around them all the time. And the fact that every little good gesture can make a difference. Every nicety, every piece of help, the thing that you are capable of for that next person, I mean, so much. Doesn't matter how small it is. And I believe that. I embody that. And it isn't because I have to. I just choose to. My circumstances as they are right now aren't that great, but I have my faith in God. He has actually provided for me. He's been there for me, as he has for many others out there. But society has us to the point where we can't even begin to do the inner looking to see who we are, without the ego or the pride standing in the way. And this is just us looking at us. Nobody else. That's it. A lot of people cannot even stand to do that. And that says a lot about how the world is and how it's operate. So with that introspection / outer inspection, the experience did not only give me a better outlook on things and how the world operates, not that I hadn't had a hint of it to begin with, but also of how much easily things flow in here when you take away all those burdens that you have around you, that you just are told you have to have, those situations that you have to be a part of, those thoughts that you have to have against yourself. And believe me, the thoughts that you have against yourself are so well programmed, you would defend them till you die. And that was one factor that I had to bypass when I went into taking away all the layers of trauma that I had. So, in the end, I would say to take away from this, do the inner work, do the inner looking, see who you really are. But don't go in there with pride, don't go in there with envy, don't go in there with ego. You can't. Because, if you really want to discover who you are outside of doing what I did, I don't see a point in taking every other direction with you in there when it's all about you. All the things you've been taught, all the things you've been told, all the resentments you have, all the negativity. Those things were put there, not just by you, but by everything around you. There's so many different influences. And as you begin to find your way out of this, you begin to see and become more aware. It's like surfacing from deep underwater. You get to see the light more and more, and you're aware that the light is there, and it's more. And as you go higher, as you finally reach the top, gasp for air. It's like, this was here the entire time, all of this around me. I never truly saw it. And then that's where the rest comes in. That's when you're free. That's when you can start living your life. That's when you can start going forward. Yes, there's still more work and building that can be done upon that, but it's much, much easier. Think of it as a newly formed, stable foundation. Now, I'm going to leave that right there. The next video, I'm going to go through and tell my story, my life story. So you have an understanding as to the steps at which that led me to turn to God. Love you and thank you very much.